Well, welcome once again to the Doctor of Digital podcast and my special guests are from other part of the world, which is really interesting. And this is pretty awesome. So this is Raj Goodman Anand, and I wanted to talk to him for a number of reasons. I think you'll find him very interesting in the audience as well. But let me give you a little bit of his background and you'll know why I wanted him on the show. So he's a PhD in AI. He turned entrepreneur. He founded Raise Capital and led a B2B content writing and marketing tech startup and led them to acquisition. So a lot of these things are really interesting to those of us who are interested in the tech field and things of that nature. So welcome to the show, Raj. Glad to have you and good deal to we can connect, even though it is quite ways so far away.
Well, I was just saying earlier before we started, that is the beauty of the digital world we live in. We are sort of connected through the internet as well, and people can see us live, and that's the beauty of where we are today. But thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's the global village that we're in. So I gave a little bit of background and kind of interesting too. And can you tell us a little bit about your background and tell us how did you get into the field and how did that start?
Yeah, so actually, I was pursuing a PhD in AI 20 years back. I did drop out though, unfortunately. I couldn't continue it all the way because I had to earn some cash. And it all happened because I was studying at the University of Sussex in the UK,
Hmm.
and there was a exchange student who came in and it started talking about MySpace.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know what MySpace is the social network of us elderly folks. At least in my case, it was the network which I sort of grew up with. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I can actually build my own MySpace clone in minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I said minutes. It took me days to kind of get it done. So I actually coded the entire MySpace clone, and I called the actual tool Quick, KWIQQ. And then
Hmm.
I went out to raise money. Got three investors on board. A lot of PR, a lot of press. I was just 23 years old, so I got a lot of press in the back of that. It was really interesting. It was a very interesting journey to go out there and learn about fundraising, growing a company. Did a lot of work with travel companies, governments, building and selling a white label social media software. But one thing I learned from my experience was that the only way to grow is to have a growth mindset, a learner's mindset, which I didn't, unfortunately. And the company didn't. It kind of grew like that, and then it just went flat, and then downward curve.
I see.
Uh, which was my first company. I was still young. I was still learning and experimenting.
Live and
So
learn.
you live and learn indeed. So I started out the next company, which was actually I was working for a tech organization in Spain,
Hmm.
and I was working starting my own business part time in the evenings and weekends. The company I worked for, I took them from 7.5 million to 45 million in revenue in the back of content marketing. I'll talk more about it in a little bit. And the company I founded was a very bizarre for a computer science student or AI professional. I started a hen party company, which is what we call a bachelorette party company in the US and other countries.
Hmm.
And I've actually found a way to productize bachelorette parties and sell them online through SEO. And in the UK, this industry is roughly about £2 billion in revenue it brings in every year. So it's a big industry in the UK and
Hmm.
similarly in Australia and Europe as well. So I thought, well, what can we do with this? So I grew that company from, startup, $0 to the biggest dance-based bachelorette party company in the country. We we operated in about 40 cities, 50 products or services we offered, and all of that over the weekend and evening. So that was kind of fun, kind of a really sort of kept kept me thinking and being curious, I guess, about what we can do.
Sure. Now, I'm curious about. some of the biggest changes you've said. Now, even talking about something like MySpace, which wasn't that long ago, but there are a lot of changes. So, in your experience, what would you say are some of the biggest changes that you have seen from the time you started up until the present?
Well, the one thing which is been constant is change. That's for sure.
Mm.
Especially in the tech world, there's constant innovation going on. For example, 20 years back when I was studying AI, we didn't have the computational power to run algorithms.
Yep.
Today we have the power of computing, where you can run some very powerful algorithms and technology, which was impossible in the past.
Yeah.
So I think things are becoming cheaper and faster and better on a yearly basis. That is phenomenal. The opportunity which it presents to us today with AI, for example, and some people might say crypto, for instance, quantum computing, all these terminologies which might sound like buzzwords, but they have real world consequences for everybody involved. Stuff which I was doing, paying a lot of money for, doing design work, creating content, for example, some of
Mhm.
this can be done now using AI. And that is phenomenal. It really is.
And that's certainly an area I want to touch on because I'm curious about what would you say are some of the hot areas? And obviously, AI is one. It's almost a buzz phrase at this point. But are there things that are related to that? And how do you see this transpiring? Like, what would you say are some of the things that people should be looking at in the hot areas currently?
Sure. So within AI, there are multiple fields.
Yeah.
There's neural networks. There's a lot of technologies which I might use within AI. But just to make it simple, I'll say today the area where there's a lot of buzz around is generative AI. That basically means you input something and you get the next following results from it.
Right.
So you might enter the the title of a blog post, and it will
Right.
then start to fill in the whole blog post for you. So you're prompting
Mm.
the AI, the actual large language model, to then complete your sentences, build the artwork for you, for example, that sort of things. They are very powerful. And every day as we pass, you're seeing
Mm.
there's some innovation happening. The new tool launch, for example, obviously we all know what ChatGPT and OpenAI, which built ChatGPT, but there are others as well, like Anthropic, which built Claude 2, very powerful, very powerful. And there's Perplexity, which uses the power of Google and ChatGPT into one. Super powerful as well. It's like looking at these different technologies and they merge together to form some really powerful opportunities. That's when magic happens. And I think we've seen the tip of the iceberg at the moment. There's so much more to come in the coming days, weeks, and months.
And that's what I think, say, listeners and business owners and business leaders are very curious about. So what I'm wondering about, if you could expand upon this a little bit, and there are people that are going to be across the entire spectrum. First of all, I don't understand AI. I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do with it. But what should business owners and business leaders be thinking about currently, given the fact that, as you suggest, technology is changing all the time? But what kinds of things should they be looking for and considering currently?
Yeah. So the way I look at this for business owners is AI should be our first employee in the company.
Hmm.
And that's the way I look at it. So I started a new company recently. The first employee was AI. And what did AI do for me? The
Mhm.
first thing it did for me was to actually be able to design artwork, for example. So I use Bing Images to prompt it with style of images I like to create for my company. And it did that for me straight away. So it did some really interesting some really interesting technology and animation, which I used later on. But it first created for me images based on my prompt. So I said, for example, make me line art with color in it and talks about retreats. So it made me lots of artwork for retreat. I saved them all. That in itself,
Hmm.
each image I create out of it saved me about $100 per image. I generated about 60 of them, $6,000 money saved. That is phenomenal. I don't need to go anymore on Fiverr or Upwork to build my artwork, do it myself. That's one. Number
Yeah.
two,
Yeah.
I then looked at Canva, and the
Hmm.
Canvas is a tool to use to design artwork,
Sure.
and I could generate brochures, PDFs from it. Took me seconds. Next
Hmm.
thing I did was I created a style guide using my team. I have a team at Goodman Lantern, which is content marketing, content creation. They help me create prompts. I can generate text from it. And then I create long form text for blog posts and website, and I got them edited by my team at Goodman Lantern. So the writing part, the research part, I could actually save on. Obviously, it still needs editing, it still needs moderation, but some of the concept development that was
Mm.
done. Last thing, and one of the most important parts of starting a new business is research. That research part I did by using a combination of Google and AI.
Hmm.
I mentioned before it was it's called Perplexity. It's a tool, like it's a free tool. You can actually do real-time search using the power of ChatGPT and Google at the same time. So it's very powerful what you can do. Research, writing, creating content, creating images. It's all done for me. I've probably saved about at least one person's salary on that.
And what everyone's will say is time is money, right? So what you're doing is saving a whole lot of time. It's interesting in perspective to say AI should be your first employee because you start seeing it can go across many functions within a company. So curious now, like where are you and what is it that you do? Because you mentioned you have a team. So what kinds of things do you do? And if a person was listening, what could you do for them, especially for again business leaders or presidents, CEOs, people like could make these kind of decisions?
Yeah, yeah, great question. So I actually own two businesses now. One
Okay.
business is called Goodman Lantern, which is a content marketing agency. We help customers sell better and grow faster with content. Now, content has been around for centuries. Famously, Napoleon used to write content in the gazettes to get more money for his war campaigns.
Yes.
So, so obviously, content has been around. People have been writing for decades. What's interesting is how do we use content in our journey today to sell more, grow faster, and sell better? And that typically is in two ways. One
Okay.
is through thought leadership, to really have thought-provoking articles which allow you to place yourself in your company thought
Hmm.
leader.
Hmm.
And number two is visibility. With the likes of SEO, search engine optimization, you can get more visible in the online world. These are two different opportunities which we typically have when we look at content. Now, our business in Goodman Lantern serves the very top of the tech world. So we're looking at defense, pharma companies, manufacturing, telecom, tech. And in that scenario, they have very sort of streamlined briefs, very clear requirements,
Hmm.
which AI unfortunately cannot achieve for them. We can't just write a prompt on ChatGPT and say, well, get the content written for me. It
Yeah.
needs to be very precise. It has to match their brand completely. It has to have a lot of interviews done by experts in various fields. So that's when we come in, we help them with that part. We still use AI for some of the initial research part. And that's where we can help
Hmm.
use our knowledge about AI and how can it help them. For companies which are looking to kind of start the journey and they probably don't have the same budget as a large company,
Sure.
uh, we can also help these customers, and we help them regularly through looking at the content they generate using AI, and we do editing for them. So we look at we review their AI content. We use it created using ChatGPT, for example, and
Hmm.
we will edit that, make sure it's completely unique, can actually help place them on the top of the opportunity level in the industry. and also give them better ranking on Google as well. So we do both these opportunities for our clients. As I mentioned, I started a new company recently, which is a events company, and it's this the company is we help plan retreats for companies which have a large remote working organization.
Yeah.
So if you're looking, for example, if your teams are based across the US, then you need to organize a retreat so you can go and meet everybody. Say in Mexico,
Oh.
we will actually organize the entire end to end, the planning, the ideas, who can you bring in to do, say, talks, for example? How do we encourage collaboration and opportunities to become a better team together?
Well, we've talked about your background, some of the changes that you've seen, the hot areas, and probably most importantly, the kinds of things that you can do and your expertise. Now, if someone has been listening and they're curious now, how would you suggest that they get a hold of you and how can they reach out to you and get you to help them with their company or their organization?
Sure. Thank you, Mick. So I would say LinkedIn is where I lurk around, I guess. So if you look for Raj Goodman Anand on LinkedIn or just Google me, you should hopefully find me. And do connect with me and drop me a line. Love to hear from people.
Well, that's really helpful and very insightful as well. So I thank you for your time. I appreciate all the expertise and the things that you bring to the table. So I appreciate you taking some time out and chatting today, Raj.
Thank you for your time, Mick. I appreciate the opportunity as well.
You bet. So if you want to know more about the Dr. Digital podcast, or if you'd like to be a guest, or you're interested, make sure that you're supporting the show. So like us, subscribe, especially saying something on Apple or Google Podcasts as well. Until next time, we have some more exciting guests and some interesting insights. Until next time, Deus Volt.